What up? It's Jimmy from odds.com. This is a clip from our big NCAA football bowl extravaganza, and we are running white hot right now. We break down the 8 games on January 1st and January 2nd, the 8 bowl games. To watch the entire show, hit the link at the bottom of the screen. It's available exclusively on odds.com. Let's get right to work. We start Friday, January 1st with the Peach Bowl. Number 9, Georgia Bulldogs, 7-2 versus number 8, Cincinnati Bearcats. I moved on the Cincinnati Bearcats today at +7, and that's not because I love this Bearcats team. It's that the pieces that Georgia is missing in this game, I think, are extremely important. And I can understand when a team is missing wide receivers, there's other wide receivers that can step up, but there's some integral pieces here that we will go over that they are missing. And it was enough for me to jump on the Bearcats at +7. Now, that was a bet I've made. That's not an official contest pick. All our contest picks have to be made here on the show with the lines that are available right now. And we will go in order. We're going to start with John Ryan going first on this one, and we'll go around the horn here and in a counter-clockwise Hong Kong horse racing fashion. All right, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia. Let's see what we are dealing with right now. We have 7 still. The 6.5s are at the leading indicator books. I expect it to go to 6.5. In fact, I expect it to go to 6 and possibly even 5.5. But I think it'll go down to 6 here when all the information comes out in this game. The total here opened up at 50 and it's gone up to 50.5 or 51. Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs. After a bad 44-28 loss at home to Florida, Georgia won 3 straight to close the season. 31-24 at home over Mississippi State, 45-16 at South Carolina, and 49-14 at Missouri. Their defense was very strong all year, allowing just 322.8 yards and 19.9 points a game. But their defense has taken a hit from some very important opt-outs. So all of their team captains have opted out. So we'll start with the team captains. Linebacker Monty Rice, who had 49 tackles. Cornerback Eric Stokes, another team captain who had 4 interceptions. 2 he returned for touchdowns. They've opted out to prepare for the draft. Their other starting cornerback DJ Daniel has also opted out. Now, outside linebacker Azeez Owarli, projected as a first-round NFL draft pick, he has elected to play in the Peach Bowl. There are reports out saying that he is opting out. Last I heard, those are incorrect, and Azeez will be playing in the Peach Bowl. Senior defensive back Richard LeCount continues to practice. He sustained injuries in a Halloween night dirt bike crash, so he's trying to come back. I don't know if he will. Senior defensive end Malik Herring is playing in the Peach Bowl, even though he's got the invite to the Senior Bowl. He could sit out, so he is playing. So their offense changed drastically when JT Daniels took over the starting position. Over the 3 games since the switch, Georgia's averaged nearly 500 total yards per game. That stretch includes Daniels' 401-yard, 4-touchdown performance in his debut against Mississippi State. 2 more balanced outings that each resulted in 45 or more points on the road against South Carolina and Missouri. Let's go to the offense. Another team captain, offensive lineman Ben Cleveland, has opted out to prepare for the draft. So has tight end Trey McKitty. Backup running back James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, who ran 45 times for 303 yards and 3 touchdowns, also was very nice receiving out of the backfield. He's going to miss the Peach Bowl to be with his family following the death of his father this week. And Dalvin's going to be there as well. He's not playing on Sunday. They will have their top 3 receivers, Kearis Jackson, Jermaine Burton, and George Pickens, as well as their top running back, Zamir White. So they still have a lot of weapons. Then let's quickly go Cincinnati. They haven't had a single player opt out. They went undefeated through the season with an average margin of defeat of 23.3 points, but won their last 2 games by just 3 points each over UCF and Tulsa. Their offense put up 39.3 points and 467.2 yards per game. 604 dual threat. Junior quarterback Desmond Ridder completed 66.4% of his passes for 2,090 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He also ran for 609 yards and 12 touchdowns. Leading running back Garrett Dokes ran for 673 yards and 7 touchdowns. He hurt his leg against Tulsa. He's listed as questionable. They have 3 linebackers in Jarrell White, Darian Beavers, and Joel DeBlanco that lead the way. Their best safety, James Wiggin, hurt his leg against Tulsa and is listed as questionable. Okay, let's start. We're going to start with John Ryan here. Georgia, Cincinnati, take it away.
Well, I'll start with the SOS strength of schedule that both teams face. Georgia is 47. You may remember, I think we mentioned in the last show, one of the SEC teams that hit 51. So the SEC teams are going to have the highest SOS. Cincinnati, many people have said all through the season they get no respect. They're definitely an excellent team, but their SOS is 31. So that is one of the widest gaps of any of the bowl games that are taking place, especially here down the stretch. So you can already tell that I'm leaning on Georgia here, and I will be betting Georgia. I think the fact that you're a member of the SEC and Cincinnati is going to bring the load, that this is their game to make a point nationally, and it's their game to finish in the top 10, which would be the highest ranking in school history. But I think Georgia, despite, again, next man up for these guys opting out. And this may sound, kind of, not evil, but, negative on Cincinnati. I think it's great that nobody opted out. I don't like hearing the word opted out because you're a part of a team. And, I'm old school. And when you're a part of a team, you finished the season. You didn't think about going somewhere else or, unless they're, in the case of the death of a family member, that's certainly an exception. But if you think about it, with all the opt-outs on Georgia, doesn't that imply that that's a more talented team because they're opting out to prepare for the NFL draft? And I've been thinking about that since our last show. And the more and more I think about it, I think the more I agree with myself that might be a pretty good sign. And it's also a sign that recruiting at Georgia is going to be much, much better than Cincinnati year after year after year. Cincinnati has a great ball club. They'll certainly fight to win this game, but I think Georgia just has too much SEC experience. Let's call it that. So in this game, the line implies basically a 29-21 Georgia victory with a total of roughly 50 and then favored by 7, call it. I'm just rounding it off. So in my machine learning stuff, there's a high probability that Georgia's going to score more than 28 points in this game. In fact, it's 82%. So I like these pivot numbers. Georgia is 129-59 against the spread when scoring 28 or more points in all games played in the last 10 seasons. And let's see Cincinnati here. Here's another machine learning one. The projection is that Georgia will outgain them by 150 to 200 yards. When that happens to Cincinnati, they are 3-16 and winless since 2015. So the 3-16 last 10 years, winless since 2016 when that has occurred. And lastly, I'll give you a system here right off the start. This one has hit 80% winners over the last 5 seasons. You're going to play on any team. In this case, it's Georgia in a game involving 2 very strong, excellent rushing teams gaining 4.85 yards per rush and are coming off a game allowing 40 or less rushing yards in their last game, which Georgia did. So, it's a powerful system. 47% of these plays covered the spread by more than 7.5 points, 18-5 over the last 3 years. So you can mark me down for Georgia.
Let's get you Georgia right now, and I completely understand the breakdown. I've had people mention to me that this was a mortgage-type bet that they're putting on Georgia.
I don't like hearing that.
I have had that.
Wow.
And I think that with them losing their 3 team captains in crucial positions and in a game that means I expect it to mean so much more to Cincinnati than it does to Georgia, and you're going to give me 7 points, I'm going to take a shot. But I completely understand with your breakdown, and it makes a ton of sense. You can get -6.5 now, -6.5 on Georgia. You can get -6.5 at -115 available at DraftKings. Is that what you'd like?
I'll take that.
Georgia full game -6.5 at DraftKings. We go down to the big ragu. Take it away, Peach Bowl.
Oklahoma 7-0 like butter. You hear me? Okay, let's get into this game a little bit. John gave a lot of intricate details on numbers and whatnot, and how he came about his theories on the game, which I tend to agree with his thinking on Georgia. But But my main factor in the game here is I'm aware of the fact that, the next up talent's on the sidelines and the key leadership, like Jimmy says, that might be an issue. When I did my spreadsheets on the game, I didn't have a play on the game either way. So this is strictly a contest play. But looking into the game, with Cincinnati not getting the respect, like we know that, they would kind of be the equivalent of UCF on offense, where Cincinnati's really, really strong on defense and they have a pretty good running game. But Georgia, man, they're really tough on the run. And I'm not going to say it's going to make them too one-dimensional in this spot, but I just think Georgia's been one of those teams, like every year they've been little brother to Alabama. And, when they go into these games, these bowl games especially, we've seen in the past where they've kind of had more of a letdown than a motivational factor to kind of participate in these type of games. But, they had an up-and-down season. They were probably better than – they're one of the good teams in the SEC. There's some shitty teams that are playing in these bowl games, but Georgia's one of the better teams without a doubt. And you have like a couple mediocre teams and some bad teams. But anyways, in this particular spot with Georgia, I think they're going to be up for this game. I really do. I think this is one they're kind of, wanting to kind of springboard towards next year. A ton of talent. They recruit well. Georgia's actually probably like the third best recruiting class in the nation. And I think next up for Georgia here, I'm not crazy about, laying the 6.5 or 7, whatever it is, but I'm going to do it for the contest. I'm going to take Georgia, whatever best number I can get, minus the 6.5. I think Georgia is going to compete. Now, they are going to get some smash mouth. You're probably going to see them get off to a quicker start than Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's probably going to settle in and make a game of it without a doubt. So it's not going to be an easy game for Georgia. They'll probably get punched in the mouth a couple times, and they'll punch back maybe a little bit harder. And I think they get the victory. I'm hoping they get to the 6.5, but it's not a keen play for me.
You can get the 6.5, minus 6.5 at minus 115. That is available at DraftKings. We move over to DJ Big Boss. Take it away, my man.
Well, I agree totally with Big Ragu saying and with John Ryan saying, but for everybody that's watching, I'm gonna approach it from a different angle right here. For one, you consider all what we said about who's playing and not playing, and we still looking at a 6.5, 7. So that tells you, I smell a fish. And then if you look at the total set low, and it's probably built off an algorithm considering that Georgia has good defense, Cincinnati's has good defense. And if you look at the numbers, it looks like Georgia's going to be a running team because of the past quarterback and the situation that they had. But coming in this game with JT Daniels being more pass happy brings more balance to the offense of Georgia right there. So, and that really leads me over to, I was thinking Georgia team total over, but when I look at Cincinnati as well, who's a big time defensive team, but they've been able to score when they need to score and finish games when they need to finish games because they have a pretty much even offense and defense. They kind of like run pass and they kind of even up in there. But I think everybody gets loose so far in all of these bowl games. Everybody's been getting loose. A couple of these game plans came lopsided compared to what they normally do and what they do in the bowl game. Because you got to figure some coaches is looking at it. Hey, some coaches look at the bowl game as this is an opportunity to try something new. That's why you see a lot of teams come out with different color helmets and jerseys and all that kind of extra stuff. So, and we've already seen it in a couple games before that, these teams that we thought were going to come out running came out passing. Look at how Wake Forest did earlier. And, just those type of logistics in the bowl season you got to consider. So in this one right here, I think this could be an algorithm that's set low, that's really going to go high, and I like the over in this one.
The over, and that's the only move you're going to make?
No, I'm gonna go ahead and group hug with the fellas and drop Georgia on it as well because I like Georgia as well. I like what JT Daniels has to offer overall. You know, he has something to prove. You know, and you're looking at a team that was once one way and now they're leaning one way. And if you give them the offense they have now in some of those games earlier this year, you get different outcomes on that. But the defense is a strong defense. I trust in the defense, and I'm always going to pick the more defensive side. So I like the Georgia defense more than the Cincinnati defense. And, and on top of it all, you got the big class difference. I think, we've seen that as well in some of the bowl games before. Like, class is a big thing. Like, SEC, at the end of the day, so all these conferences just came out of championship and competing with each other, and now they're like, let's get as many conference championships for our conference together. So you got guys rooting for guys in some of these games right here, and everybody's pulling for Georgia. Georgia could have been somewhere total different, so this could be a really lopsided game, maybe a blowout or something like that. So I'm gonna say with Georgia, and I'm gonna keep the total because it's contest time, man. Sometimes you got to hit the right and the left to make it right, because all you got to do is a pow, and then I'm up there with you, Jimmy.
We're all very close in the contest, all doing very well early. It's not early. We're halfway through. We're halfway through.
Blanket's over.
Georgia -6.5, -115 on DraftKings for John Ryan, for Big Ragu, for Big Boss. Big Boss is also on the over 50.5. And I am on the other side, Cincinnati +7 at -110 at Bet365. And I had people messaging me saying, big mistake. You're making a big mistake. It's saying they're making big bets on Georgia on New Year's Day. Not me.